We have Wayne Weidner, who was a past treasurer of the Oley Fair for 7 years. Welcome, Wayne.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate the opportunity to talk about something that's near and dear to my heart. I was at every fair. That's what I'm going to start out by saying. And I can remember the greatest event and experience was working for Fred Stauffer, Warren Levengood, and Dr. Zach, and a guy named George Rothenberger. You probably knew who that was. Yeah. I can remember the detail of setting up for the fair. During the summer, they would repair the entire school, have it all refurbished, redo the floors, and then 3 weeks later, we tore it all apart and set up for the fair. And then the Saturday before the fair, we were required, because the school and the fair and fire company had a great relationship. I mean, it was a great partnership. And Carl Blank, who was the ag teacher, really was a promoter of it. So we had to help set up the tents. And Fred Stauffer, who was a high school principal, today he'd be known as the superintendent, he was a real strong boss. And you worked hard and got the job done. And at noontime, they fed us very well. It was a great opportunity, because that was the climax of the day, getting together and having dinner. So that was something I will never forget. I'll never forget setting up the tents. That was hard work, but we got it done. Then as I moved along into the fair, I can recall my days, my first activities during the fair. Back then, soda bottles were the in thing, and they were returnable. They were glass. And I can remember having a couple of us guys working together, collecting these bottles, and we had to protect them because other guys would try to take them from us, and we got 10 cents for an entire case of empty 24 bottles. That's what we got. So then as things moved along, I got interested in working at the fair. And my first job, actually, I didn't work in what was we called it the shed on the school grounds. And we have to always be reminded how the fair was totally on the school grounds. And at White Shed is where the French fried potatoes were cleaned and made. So I never worked there, but as the fair moved across the street to the fire company grounds, what I found very interesting was the French fry stand. And there I got to work with a guy named Steffi, his last name was, and of course Danny Levengood's dad, Butch, as we knew him, worked there a lot. So I was allowed to have off 3 days of school to work at the French fry stand. And my job then was to run the potatoes through a machine that would just grind the shells off, and then we would cut them and we would make them. I'm a little jealous today because we transitioned from cleaning potatoes to cut frozen potatoes, bringing them in, and made the job a lot easier. But by that time I had moved on to some other responsibilities. I became treasurer of the fair, which I really enjoyed doing. Got to really understand how much work went on. We would get there early in the morning, and I don't want to forget mentioning my wife, Kathy, was my assistant treasurer. And she'll tell you today, if she could, she did all the work because I was out PRing, doing other things. I wasn't interested in sitting in the office counting money. She was very good at it. We took great pride in it because when I became treasurer, prior to our taking over the treasurer's office, the fair never really ever gave real thorough financial reports. No written reports at meetings. Sometimes they didn't even talk about balances. And being a numbers person, I thought that was totally wrong, and we put in a reporting system that I was very proud of. But that became outdated when Kevin replaced me as treasurer, and then Dina came along, Dina Levengood, and turned it into all automated, and that was a great thing to do. So in addition to that, I saw the opportunity to take on the responsibility of opening the car show again. The car show was a tradition at the fair, but it was discontinued. Then around 2001, I believe it was, I volunteered to Kevin Beaver, we should start the car show again. I'm proud to say I did that for 19 years as chairman and turned it over to another person about 2 years ago. And it's about 200 cars every year. I think it adds to the fair. It's just one more feature that draws another level of community interest. So that's been working out very well. I think back about the activities at the fair. It had very simple entertainment at one time, but it was diversified. We had I can recall the Oley High School band always played one night. They didn't come over in the afternoon and play for an hour and go back to school again, but we played at night. I can recall we had a tremendous horse show that was held on the grounds that are now a parking lot for the high school. That horse show became extremely large, and when we moved across the street to the fire company grounds, we still had the horse show, but because of parking restraints and so forth, they ended up dropping it because it would start early in the morning and last till 6, 7 o'clock at night. I think back when we were on the school property, we used almost every room in the school building to display, and we had both the competitive displays and we also had the commercial exhibits. I remember we had Breakfast in Berks. That was a WEEU regular scheduled program that they aired. They start producing that, and they aired right from the auditorium at Oley High School. And the highlight was chocolate milk and vanilla and plain milk plus donuts. And that was a real key. And we filled the auditorium. That was really a highlight. So I have a lot of great memories of the changes that took place. We also had high school sporting events. We had a soccer game one day and a hockey game the next day. Brought good crowds. That again was held on the field, which is now the parking lot. Then I can really recall, just slightly, they had mule races. That was only for a short period of time. I had to be probably about 5 or 6 years of age when that was occurring. But that was also popular with a couple people, mule races. So it'd be neat if we had video of some of that. Moving along, when we moved over to the fire company grounds, I was treasurer of the Oley Valley class in 1960. That was a major move. Prior to that, they had a simple stand right behind the school building, and now we had to come up with a new plan. We had to come up with a special building for that. And being treasurer was a great experience for me. It was the first time I really got to handle a lot of cash. And we had $5,000 worth of sales in 3 days. I don't know where they are today, but I'm sure it's a number 3 times that probably. But that was a great experience for everyone. We picked our own apples. I think now they probably get some given to them, but we'd go out and pick the apples and get the cider pressed, and we did real well with that. But that was good experience handling a lot of money. I think you must talk about the community relationship. I talked earlier about the importance of the fire company and fair working together. You have to mention the Lions Club back then was a very important part of the fair because those gentlemen I mentioned were all part of the Lions Club. And to see that part of working together, plus now we bring in the churches, the organizations that participate, I call it a big reunion for the Oley Valley. It's a great time to build new relationships, renew past relationships, and it continues. You can see it just by the people that arrive at our fair year. I really enjoyed the 50th anniversary parade. I thought it was outstanding. I had the opportunity to drive the first president, Dr. Zachin, who was our local veterinarian. Again, he was a very important part of the beginning of the fair. And I was proud to drive him down Main Street. It was a great day. But then I had the opportunity for the 75th annual fair parade, which just totally outclassed the first one in 1950. The group that organized that, the committee, did an outstanding job. It is a day no one will ever forget. We had the weather on our side, and we had great participation. And I'll tell you, I was really proud because I got to drive my wife down Main Street in my car. So I didn't get to drive with one of the fair dignitaries, but I got to drive my wife, and that was special, coming down Main Street. So I look back and think, what would Oley be without an Oley fair? It'd be a pretty boring place. It would absolutely. There's nothing else that brings this many people together. We are the envy of a lot of communities. They all wish they had a fair like us. I always remember my friend Wayne Redinger, who I was named after. Wayne Redinger was very active with the Reading Fair. And he and I always compared notes, and I always told him the Oley Fair would not survive the Reading Fair. And I was right. The Reading Fair is surviving, but nothing like the Oley Fair. So proud of it. Glad I could have been a part of it. Thank you. Okay.
Can you tell us how the awarding of the department trophies started at the Oley Fair?
That is a very special, interesting item for me to talk about. When I was probably about 12, 13 years of age, I can remember, again, when we had the fair on the school grounds, I remember seeing Ralph DeTurk, who was an Oley graduate and a real strong supporter of Oley. I can remember seeing him handing out the trophies on behalf of National Bank of Boyertown. That was a proud experience for him, and he looked forward to that every year. Then one day, when I started working at National Bank of Boyertown, Ralph DeTurk said, "Wayne, I have a new responsibility for you. You're going to hand out the trophy cups at the Oley Fair." I said, "You're going to help?" "No, it's going to be all yours." And I was quite honored to have that responsibility, because let's face it, that's what the Oley Fair really was all about. We lose sight of that when we think of some of the entertainment and we think of the different things we're experiencing, the different exhibits that take place. But the fair really had a major interest in providing a competitive place for people to show off their items that they were producing on their own properties.